Friday and Saturday really seem like a bit of a blur, and this is absolutely crazy because this is me only thinking about how the last 7 days have been. Hi everybody, my name is Beck and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I am sharing with you how the last 7 days have gone with introducing a newborn into our family. So if you like the sound of this video, please give it a big thumbs up because that really supports my channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the bell so you get notified when we upload next. So let's get into the week that was. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Beck and I have recently delivered our third child. If you haven't seen our labour and delivery vlog and the first 24-hour vlog with a newborn, then feel free to click up here or in the description box below. You'll find the videos for them. Love for you to watch them after this. It gives you a bit more detail of how everything kind of came to be with introducing our son into our family and the first 24 hours. They were a big 24 hours. So Finneas arrived at 4:43 p.m. on Wednesday the 16th of September and we did the golden hour of skin to skin time and he had his first feed in the birthing suite and then we went back to the room. We probably got to the room around 7 o'clock at night. The first night was fine. He fed and slept in 3-hourly blocks, which was great. In the morning we did get his tongue tie snipped, but the damage had already been done and so breastfeeding has really been a challenge for me, and I think because he came 11 days earlier, I'm just finding that he's not opening his mouth wide enough compared to the girls, and so his latch just isn't as good as it could possibly be. So those first 24 hours were really challenging with him being tongue-tied, it getting snipped, trying to breastfeed through the pain because I didn't want to give up on it, and yeah, it was just a really big 24 hours. All in all, we did find ourselves incredibly blessed because Finn was proving to be a really cruisy baby compared to our previous 2 girls who were at this point super demanding, super screamy, just really intense, and we were really enjoying Finn. This is where day 2 hit. In our baby book at the hospital, it told us that night 2 is generally the worst because Bob will realize that they're no longer in the room and that it's sort of just a vacation, that this is reality, so they become super clingy. It's also when you're trying to establish your milk, and so you'll probably have to cluster feed a lot, and this was all true of my Thursday. So Thursday afternoon, this is when it kind of hit the fan a little bit and he started to cluster feed more. I had to experiment with different breastfeeding positions because the traditional across the body was not getting the correct latch and it was bringing me to tears. I ended up trying side feeding. That didn't really work either, where that had worked for my 2 girls, in particular Zoe, my second born. So then I went to the football hold and I found this was the most effective of getting a better latch with Finneas so that I wasn't in pain, but I was still having to feed through really cracked and sore and bleeding nipples, which is the biggest, hardest thing that you can do when you are sleep deprived. But I didn't do it because I wanted to be a super mom or anything like that. I just did it because I know it's only for a little stage of my breastfeeding journey, because after everything is all said and done, I will be able to breastfeed with no pain and all that sort of stuff. And the establishing of breastfeeding for me personally is always tricky, and I know that I just have to push through it. Friday and Saturday really seem like a bit of a blur, and this is absolutely crazy because this is me only thinking about how the last 7 days have been. This is the thing when you have life with a newborn, is that it is the longest time that you will go through, but at the same time, because it's so challenging and the sleep deprivation, when you look at it in hindsight, it just goes by so fast and everything kind of blurs together. So Friday and Saturday were our most challenging days with Finneas. He didn't have a routine, he had his days and nights mixed up, he was constantly cluster feeding because he wanted to get my milk in, and he would only want me, he didn't want Mick, and we were getting very different messages from the midwives that were on different shifts. Some of them said that it's fine for Mick to have his finger in Finny's mouth so that he could soothe Finneas, where other midwives were saying if Finneas wanted to suck, then he needed to suck the breast and not mix finger. But I was to the point of tears and exhaustion because I needed a break. So day 2 and day 3 were really hard for us, for Mick and I both. And by day 3, my baby blues had absolutely kicked in. I was exhausted, I was in pain. I didn't know how I was going to do it all again, and it was just a really big struggle for me. In saying that, by the afternoon of day 3, my milk had absolutely come in, which was the biggest boost for me personally with my confidence. It was something that I was pushing through because I wanted to have that moment, and I just wanted to know that my hard work wasn't in vain and that it was actually going to produce something. We also got Finn weighed on this day, and so he had only lost 200 grams, which was really good. It was 5% of his birth weight, so that was another encouraging thing that my milk had come in. Unfortunately, on Friday and Saturday, they were quite worried about his jaundice levels. It was always below the line that was the line of like, do we come up with a plan or not? But he was really yellow and he was sleeping whenever he was on the breast. So my midwife suggested that I needed to take off his onesie, so he was just in a nappy, doing skin to skin and activating his little senses by tickling him and stuff like that so that he would feed for a full feed. I was also recommended to do 20 minutes on both sides, and that was a bit of a struggle just because Finn really did hurt me in the first 2 days of feeding. And yeah, I tried to do it to the best of my abilities, but whenever it got painful, I would unlatch him and then just swap breasts and feed on the other side to give it a bit of a break, or I would try and relatch with a better position, because there is absolutely no point in putting a bub on the breast with a bad latch and just making things worse. So yeah, with Saturday, they weighed him and his weight was good, which was really good for the fact that even though he looked jaundiced, he was getting enough wheeze and poos and he was feeding enough that his weight hadn't dropped enough, so they were concerned but not too concerned. Sunday morning hit, and this is day 4 for us, and Mick and I were exhausted because Saturday night Finn went on at 6 p.m. and pretty much spent an hour on, an hour off, all the way through till 4 o'clock in the morning, where I rung the midwife, belled her into the room, and I was just in tears. I couldn't do it anymore, and so the midwife took Mick and Finneas out of the room to give me 2 hours of sleep, which was absolutely golden. And when the midwife for Sunday came on, she asked me if I was ready to go home or if I wanted to spend another day. And I just looked at Mick and said, I don't feel confident with my milk, even though his weight loss was minimal and things looked good. I was not confident at all with myself, and I think because breastfeeding was still a challenge, I wasn't confident to do a sleepless night and then look after the girls during the day, and I didn't think it was sustainable for Mick and I. So we asked to stay another night, which was fine. And I felt like Sunday was definitely the turning point for Finneas. I felt like he got into a better routine, we got into a rhythm. I think those first couple of days really make and break the situation, and once you're over that hump of transitioning them on Earthside and getting into the routine of breastfeeding and sleeping and swaddling and shushing and all those things, you find what your pace of life is with a newborn. So Sunday, which was day 4, we felt like we were starting to get a bit of a hang of it, and we were ready to go home by Monday, which was really good. So Monday we came home from the hospital, they weighed him again, and he had put on an extra 100 grams over the 2 days, which is really encouraging. So by the time we left the hospital, he had only lost 2% of his birth weight, which is absolutely incredible. The pediatrician was worried about his jaundice because he was yellow looking, but when he found out that Finn had only lost 2%, then he just asked for us to check his levels one more time. It was below the line of concern, and so we were able to go home, which was an absolute blessing because since coming home, things have settled down. I would highly recommend that if you can stay in hospital, we stay there for 4 to 5 days. do it, because having the midwives on call, having support 24/7 for that time period of trying to bring your milk in, for answering those questions, for having some support, especially if you have other kids at home, is absolutely incredible. Every time I started to have self-doubt, or I just needed some reassurance with information and knowledge, then it was so good to just chat to a midwife. Even being a third-time mum, I was learning so many new things while being in hospital. I learned more things about how to be more efficient at breastfeeding. I learned more things about how to swaddle a baby. We are now doing a double swaddle with Finneas, and it is absolutely working wonders. We haven't even had to contemplate about using a dummy so far, and with the girls, by the end of this first week, we were so sleep deprived and so desperate to just get some peace and quiet that we would absolutely try a dummy. Where this time around, I feel like having the double swaddle and having our side sleeper set up the way that it is has worked wonders, because Monday night when Finn came home, I gave him a feed. He had a 2-hour sleep. He then woke up. I gave him his nighttime feed at 10, and then he slept all the way through to 4:45. I woke up and I had blinked because my milk was so used to being so regular that having that longer block of sleep, it wasn't. And that for me is just the coolest thing ever, because I've always struggled with breastfeeding, and the fact that he was able to be so milk drunk, to sleep through a big block of sleep and to wake up and to have excess milk is like a dream come true. Anyway, he then had one more feed and then he slept again until 9 o'clock, which was crazy. And since being home, we have found that rhythm, we've found a routine. Today he's been a bit grumbly, but that's because yesterday we went out visiting my grandparents, so his great grandparents, and being out of that rhythm and losing our feeding, sleeping, eating cycle kind of put him out of whack. But that's okay, he still has his days and nights in the right order. Praise the Lord, touch wood, it's not going to change anytime soon. But I'm definitely feeling the fact that coming home and trying to juggle what life is like with 2 kids and a newborn is definitely a challenge. So Amira's 4, Zoe is 2. They absolutely love and adore their little brother. And if you haven't watched that video, you can click up here or in the description box below. Meeting Finneas for the first time was absolutely sweet and beautiful. One thing that is really evident is that in the afternoons, my baby blues does increase. I get really sad that I can't help Mick out with the twilight routine and the girls becoming cranky because they're tired. Finn really needs me, and Michael feels bad because he can't help me with Finn. And it's all those teething stages of trying to figure out what life is like as a family of 5. And there's no right or correct or proper way to navigate through it. It's all through trial and error. And the thing is, Michael and I are a team. We have each other's back. We are openly communicating what's working for us, what's not working for us. But as a person who thrives off routines and predictability, this stage of newborn life is really challenging for me. Even going to the shops or getting into a car is increasingly difficult with a newborn, a toddler who's seeking independence, and a 4-year-old who's trying to figure out what life is like as a big sister. It's all just crazy. And right now Finneas takes 40 minutes to feed because there's 20 minutes on both sides plus burping time, and then he might sleep for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. And so just everyday simple things like even going grocery shopping has become a challenge, and it's really hard to press that restart button and go back to the start. But I keep reminding myself that it's just a season, it will only last a little bit. And so far I'm counting my blessings that my breastfeeding journey is going well, that we're getting into a bit of a routine with Finn so that he's sleeping in blocks of sleep and self-soothing, which is even better without a dummy, praise the Lord. But we will do what we do to survive, and Mick and I will support each other and try and keep making memories with the girls. So if you want to see how life pans out as a family of 5, then please give this video a big thumbs up. It really does support my channel. Don't forget to hit the red subscribe button and tap the bell so you get notified when we upload next, because this parenting gig doesn't come with a rule book. We only have each other. And I'll see you in my next upload.